In my husband's family, you inherit from your grandparents. My husband's father got it into his head that our son was the product of my having an affair. He said that he would not set aside money for him unless we got a paternity test. My husband told his father to screw himself, and we cut him off. It's been a couple of years and he wants back into our lives, but he still wanted a paternity test. My husband and I talked about it, and we agreed under the condition that when it turned out that my husband was the father, the money for our son would be in an irrevocable trust for his future, even though his grandfather had not passed away. He agreed, and we did a test, like 23andMe, but with a more reputable and private brand. It just so happens that my son is indeed my husband's child, but he is not related to a bunch of his paternal relatives. My husband's mom is a saint, and she divorced her idiot ex a long time ago. He immediately started dumping on her for cheating since, obviously, the test showed that my husband was illegitimate. 2 tests later, the results are back, and my father-in-law is definitely my husband's father. My father-in-law, however, is not the offspring of the man he always thought was his dad. We had a legally binding contract, so my son has his inheritance waiting for him when he turns 25. We saw my father-in-law over the holidays, and he was complaining about how he had to liquefy some of his assets to set up the trust fund. I said that if he had just accepted his grandson and hadn't been such a bastard about it, then we would have all been happier. He got reticent and very angry. He said that I was being very rude to insult him like that. I said that he had been rude to insinuate that I was cheating on my husband, and that technically he was indeed the break in the chain. He is furious with me and mad at my husband for letting me talk about him that way. My husband told him that he brought this all on himself and that he would treat us all with respect if he wanted to be in our lives. He followed up that since we have the money now, there's nothing he can hold over if we choose to kick him back out. We're hearing a lot from my husband's relatives, some good, some bad. Overall, they think I need to be more polite, but they did agree that he did this to himself because he pressured us into getting a paternity test. So he barges into your lives, demanding a paternity test and accuses you of cheating, but you need to be more polite? I think the heck not. The man who didn't want an illegitimate descendant discovered he was illegitimate. Karma is a witch. Thanks for the laugh. That was great. You're not the idiot, and your father-in-law needs an attitude adjustment. I'm not sure why you'd want to continue tolerating somebody like that in your lives, but congrats on the free trust fund. Yep, I'm sick of this mentality where people are supposed to be polite to the person who's utterly trashed and disrespected them. Be the bigger, better person equals get on the floor, doormat. As long as the abusive person has a preferred target, nobody else has to deal with the mess. OP and her DH aren't playing doormat. Good for him. Father-in-law wanted to play stupid games and won the stupid prize. Turns out he's the illegitimate one in the family. I find that hilarious. Yeah, LMAO. Sheesh, what a story. OP, let us know if he finds out who his bio dad was. He shouldn't be in the kitchen if he can't take the heat. The nerve to start a stink about this and not think that it's insulting to you, his son and grandchild. If he can't accept that he's going to have to eat crap about this for a while, he can indeed be kicked back out. And leave this to your husband to sort out. My little brother recently moved in with me. It was a huge shock at first. My brother, Will, nearly adult, is female to male. I, male 34, had no idea he was trans or even questioning his gender. He always seemed perfectly happy as a girl. I knew he was very feminine, presenting and all, and it turns out he came out to our parents after getting his hair cut, and they didn't take it well in the slightest. From what he's told me, he wasn't exactly kicked out. They just started being unbearable. They were calling him Mila in every sentence they said, just to annoy him, I suppose. Mom kept booking him for appointments to get hair extensions and his lashes done, and our dad wouldn't let him wear the male uniform to sixth form, and so on. It got so bad that he took a train from down south to up to the north to ask if he could live with me. Of course I said yes. The house is big enough to have him live here. There are 4 bedrooms and an attic room. My girlfriend, Nico, 32, was irritated when she found out. We've discussed her moving in before Will came, and now she's telling me that she will not move in until Will leaves. I've explained to her that Will isn't a child that we'd have to constantly supervise, that if anything, he's the one making the place more livable. He's very insistent on adding to the home decor and so on, as well as being better than me at cleaning, and that the house is large enough to still have privacy, even with him around. Nico's argued that it's not truly ours if Will is always there, that we won't be able to start trying to conceive, that she's not willing to live with a hormonal and rebellious teenager, and that she's just flat out uncomfortable with Will being near her and living with her and her son, tween, in the same home. Ultimately, I've told her that my loyalties lie with my baby brother, who's homeless and vulnerable, unlike the grown woman with a good-paying job and a home of her own. She's called my mom up to complain about it, and she said that I'm in the wrong for prioritizing Will, and that Will himself said that he doesn't want to be causing problems in my relationship. Not the idiot. I love that you're protecting your brother. I have to say I'm somewhat confused that your girlfriend has a younger child to look after and expects you to welcome that child, but can't extend the same to you, and then goes running to your unaccepting parents to make you toe the line? Sure, she doesn't have to want to live with someone, but oh boy, being this rude to turn down a teen, struggling at home for seemingly no reason, then to call your mom, someone your brother has a contentious relationship with? The lack of compassion here should be a huge red flag. Just imagine how she'll react if your future children are not what she considers normal. At least she shows you her true colors before she moves in or you marry. Honestly, it sounds like a reevaluation of the relationship is in order. This is a wonderful thing you're doing for your bro, for the right reasons. This treatment your girlfriend is giving is ringing major red flags to me, especially with her already dragging your parents even more into this to pressure you. I understand she may be frustrated with such a big change of plans, but this is not the proper reaction from her. I, 32 male, have been with my wife for 6 years, and we have an infant daughter. For the past year, my mom has been battling with severe depression following the incarceration of my brother. He lived with her when he got locked up, and she'd never lived alone, so it took a toll on her mentally. He's in prison for 19 years, so I don't see it changing anytime soon either. I helped her get into therapy 6 months or so ago, following my wife commenting on not wanting my mother here every single day. To be entirely fair to my wife, it was getting exhausting. My mom would show up at various times during the day without notice and hang out for hours because she didn't want to be alone, and entertaining her every single day was getting super irritating, especially given that my wife and I had zero downtime or alone time. So anyway, I got my mom into therapy. For the past 4 months, my mom has still been stopping by, but it's not nearly as frequent. She has a boyfriend now, so she's only been stopping by once or twice a week and doesn't stay for more than an hour. My wife still hates it, but she said she'd take this over how it was any day. But 2 days ago, my mom showed up in hysterics. She was completely inconsolable. She and her boyfriend were fighting, and I guess it just made all her mental anguish flood back. She asked if she could stay the night. I ran it by my wife, who said, whatever, and locked herself away in the bedroom. She hadn't gotten any sleep the night before. I told my mom, you can stay the night but must leave in the morning. I'm going to be honest with you. My wife doesn't want you here. She hasn't been sleeping and this is inconvenient. She said she'd leave first thing in the morning, but the next day she was even worse than the night before. She was freaking out and hyperventilating because she didn't want to go home to an empty house. She said she hadn't slept at all. She was afraid of driving with no sleep, etc., and asked if she could take a nap on our bed so she could be rested for the drive. Our couch where she slept wasn't comfortable. My wife said that was fine, but she'd better be gone by the time we got back from grocery and our other errands. We left at 10 a.m. We arrived home at 8 p.m., and my mom was still sleeping in our bed. The baby was super fussy and my wife was livid. She said, go wake her the heck up and tell her to leave, or I'm going to lose my crap. This is unacceptable. I tried waking my mom, but she kept saying, 5 more minutes and turning away. My wife just looked at me and said, I'm done with this BS, and packed up the baby and left for a hotel. She said she wouldn't come back until I had no contact with my mom and cut the umbilical cord, because my mom didn't get out of my bed till nearly midnight and then went back to sleep on the couch instead of leaving. Am I the idiot? Dude, yikes. You are the idiot. Whatever and fine are words you never ever want to hear come out of a woman's mouth. That right there should have been your tip that she was about to lose her crap. Are you willing to get a divorce and lose your wife and kid over your mom? The whole reason your wife wants no contact is because you failed at setting boundaries. Your wife sees this and knows nothing will change unless you force the hard no contact way, tough love. Your mom is so codependent that you'll always be her crutch. You're enabling her behavior every time you give in. You think you're doing the right thing, but you're really making it worse. It's unhealthy, and you're risking everything for a situation that will not change. Exactly. Look what happened here. She said fine for one night and ends up with this woman in her bed for a second night. And a young infant baby? Your wife is still recovering from growing and birthing an entire human, and she must have had an awful pregnancy with mother-in-law putting all this extra stress on her. Mama's boy needs to go to therapy and sort himself out as well. You need to stop letting your mom run your house. You are her son, not her emotional support animal. Your wife doesn't deserve for her life to keep getting interrupted because your mother's hysterical and fighting with her boyfriend like she's 16. Most grandparents would want to come over to help with or see their infant grandchild, not come over to be a drain on a new mother and her household. Your mom needs more help than she's apparently getting in therapy. Unacceptable. And I'm sorry, but to tell his mom to leave because she's an inconvenience to his wife is putting all the blame on his wife. And that's a big no-no. And just for this, he's a big fat idiot. And that's not even considering all the other arguments you made that put him in an even bigger idiot place. He is making his wife the bad one here by using her as an excuse to deal with his mother. They need to show a united front. He shouldn't be pushing his wife under the bus for crying out loud. LP, wake up. We sold our house a few months ago. The house has an in-ground pool, which was closed before the sale. We had 2 large deck boxes near the pool to hold all the pool equipment. These held things that almost every pool owner needs: a vacuum hose and head, skimmer baskets, jets, chlorine containers, a submersible pump for the winter cover, a summer solar cover, and most importantly, the filter unit. Everything was very neatly organized and stored for the winter. Closing day comes, and the buyers do their walkthrough. We got a call from our realtor that items left outside by the pool need to be removed. We asked what items, and they said the deck boxes. We said those boxes contained the pool equipment, so we left them behind. Well, the new owners wanted them removed. We asked if they wanted the physical boxes removed and to leave the equipment in the garage, but they said they wanted it all gone. We had sent them a request in writing through email to both realtors, our lawyer, and to us, specifically and clearly asking what they wanted removed from the property. We told them that what they wanted removed was the pool equipment, and they replied it had to be removed or no sale. So we agreed and removed it. Our new house doesn't have a pool, so I either sold or gave away most of it, including the filter. Last week, we got an email from the new owners, their realtor, asking where the pool equipment was. We were super confused and forwarded them the email chain where they told us to get rid of it. They didn't realize the boxes contained the pool equipment and thought we were leaving behind things like floats and toys. We replied that we had stated multiple times that the boxes contained the pool equipment, but they still wanted it removed. They asked for reimbursement because now they have to buy equipment, and we said no. We did exactly what they wanted, and this is no longer our concern. Our lawyer says we're in the clear. Am I the idiot? They look to be first-time homeowners, likely never owned a pool, but we were really, really clear on what was in those boxes. Absolutely not the idiot. You received a request, provided all relevant additional information and context, and were still instructed, borderline threatened, to remove the boxes, including all the equipment. You did that. The fact that the new owners appear to not have actually read your responses is not your fault. Asking for compensation is just pure grift on their part. It was a good call to get the request in writing. Otherwise, I suspect they'd try to threaten legal action unless you paid them. Is it bad that part of me wonders if the buyers thought they could hoodwink OP into paying for brand new equipment by playing dumb like this? Sure, the more likely answer is that they and their realtor are just dumb, but at the same time, some people are insanely audacious. Anyway, not the idiot with a cherry on top. I love this. It's such a satisfying ending. Ha. I, female 30, live with my wife and our 2 sons. We're homeowners and have had some trouble with our next-door neighbors. They're a young nuclear family, 2 parents in their 30s with a baby. We aren't the type of neighbors to spy into yards or monitor what everyone is doing, so we hadn't noticed that their backyard was a pigsty until our fence panels had been broken. These neighbors had been piling up trash and leaning it up against our fence, and eventually, the sheer weight of it had just broken it, causing it all to spill into our yard. There were old pieces of wood, metal, garbage bags, pieces of furniture, and just general clutter and crap. I confronted the neighbors and informed them of what happened. I asked politely that they clear up the garbage and contribute some money towards a new fence. The husband said he'd sort it out, but after 2 weeks of no change, I knocked on their door again. The wife gave some excuse about the baby being crazy, but they said they'd get rid of their garbage ASAP. Another 3 weeks and nothing. I knocked on their door 2 different times, left messages on their Ring doorbell, and messaged them both on Facebook, and it's been radio silence. They've also not given us any money for the fence, but to be honest, I don't even care. After no response for another week, I took matters into my own hands. I loaded up their garbage into my car and took it to the dump. They're now angry and said we have no right to get rid of their stuff, and it's still their property. When the wife turned up at our door, we got into a small argument as she threatened me with small claims court, saying that we owed her and her husband money. I called her a Karen and told her if the stuff was so important, she shouldn't have left it littered around in my yard where my kids could play for over a month. She says that they would have gotten rid of it if they were given a chance. The nearest dump is over an hour's drive away, and they don't have all the time in the world. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. What exactly would they take you to court over? Cleaning their garbage? Saving them time and money? Or are they saying their garbage wasn't garbage? You've given them 5 weeks since you first talked to the husband, and they did nothing. They're fortunate you aren't charging them for the dumping fee. You could have thrown it back to their home and you didn't. They damaged your property and abandoned their items on your side of the fence. They're guilty of property damage and littering, and it's unlikely that any court would grant damages for the property they abandoned on someone else's land. You should be taking them to small claims court about the damage to your fence. I hope OP took pictures and documented all their attempts to have them clean it up. I don't even understand why the neighbor's upset. She said she was going to get rid of the stuff and didn't have time to go to the tip. OP saved them the bother. If anything, they owe OP a fruit basket or something. The only reasons to be upset is that they're hoarders and didn't actually plan to get rid of it, or they're super embarrassed that OP had to clean up their mess.